I have to say that based on tonight's results and just the results we saw over the last few days, the power rankings board, I had to make major alterations to where teams are at because I looked at it today and I went, no, no, those teams can't be there, both in the negative and in the positive. Where I said, all right, this has got to be a week where we're going into the All Star week. I have to make sure this reflects how well I think everybody's playing, and yeah, so look for some major changes tonight in the power rankings when that does come out. There was some speculation about that. I tried to put some cold water on that when it came up earlier in the comment section, but yeah, this is starting with Toronto. Toronto's defense is officially an issue, and they do have their share of games that they win, and they play this loosey goosey style. And I understand Sheldon Keefe is this really popular coach, and they love him. But this, you can't do this. You can't do this at home. You can't do this against a team that's out of the playoffs. I know Chicago's playing very well, and they are. Chicago right now looks really dangerous and like a team that could come out of nowhere and snag a playoff spot right now. But still, at home, as the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are supposed to be contenders this year, this can't happen. First period, first shot, Kajula from Kubalik and Murphy at 21 seconds. And I keep hearing Kubalik and Kubalik in other arenas. It's Kubalik. So, anyways, it's just one of those things that drives me nuts. And there was also, in this game, I kept hearing the announcers calling him Kodalik. And I'm like, oh, Alish Kodalik, the one that's retired? No, it's Kubalik. Anyways, Taves would score from Gustafsson and Nylander at 5:31, and the route is on. And that was scored during a delayed penalty. The Leafs pushed to answer. Really, really solid game for Crawford. He didn't get a start tonight, but Crawford had a very good game. Saad would then score from Kane and Carpenter at 11:02, and that's the 999th point for Kane. He will play tomorrow with a chance to get his 1,000th point. So look for that to happen then. Second straight good start for Crawford. Turnovers were really hurting the Leafs again. So you can look at this and you say, well, Freddie Anderson should have had this or that. You can also look and go, gee, they turned it over right in front of him. That's got to be really upsetting for a goaltender, and he's got to want to smack some guys with his stick. Highly likely. The Leafs get a power play late. They take care of it early in the second. It's Nylander scoring from Tavares and Barrie at 25 seconds. So it's 3-1, right? Here we go. Nope. 3:19, Taves scores again from Kajula and Gustafsson. And yeah, this is an issue. 2 goals and an assist so far for, or no, 2 goals so far for Taves. I'm getting ahead of myself. Taves would get the assist on Kubalik's goal at 10:57. Kuku got the other assist. And Kubalik now at 20 goals. He's the first rookie to hit 20 goals. And yeah, don't look now. He's looking pretty good. And the crowd was really kind of quiet at that point. Now, Kerfoot would score from Engvall and Barrie at 15:17. But, oh wait, that was Kubalik's 19th. His 20th was after they looked like they might be getting back into it. Yeah, Kubalik scores from Taves and Keith at 17:42. So Taves with 2 goals and 2 assists. 6-2 after 2. And in the third, all I had to say was the Leafs need to fix their defense. They need to win. They need to make the playoffs and win, and they need to do something in the playoffs as well. So, yeah, I didn't have really much of anything else to say about that game in the third period. Crawford saves 31 out of 33 in the victory. Anderson saves 28 out of 34. Freddie Anderson's numbers are getting bad. And Toronto fans, don't be doing the Bronx cheer. Don't. Not to Freddie, okay? So Leaf fans have talked a lot about how Freddie's been their MVP this year and he's been great. Well, if he's been your MVP, then when he has an off night, don't be giving him the Bronx cheer. And for people who don't know what the Bronx cheer is, that's where your goaltender's allowed, say, 5 goals. And then when he makes a save, you cheer him like he just won the Stanley Cup. Don't be doing that. That's just, don't do that. It's not just a Toronto thing either. I see it elsewhere. I've seen it in Vancouver. Remember Luongo, every now and then that would happen. I go, geez, are you serious? Best goaltender we've had, and we're going to give him the Bronx cheer. Taves, Kubalik, and Kajula are your 3 stars. Power plays 0 for 1 for Chicago, 1 for 2 for Toronto. So that's a benefit. Their power play came through. Shots 11-10 in the first for Toronto, 12-11 Toronto in the second, 13-10 for Chicago in the third. Final shots 34-33. in favor of the Blackhawks. All right, moving along. Vegas. All right, so this is a tale of two games. This is a tale of Montreal having a really good game, and then Vegas coming on late. And I don't know. I don't know if you come out of this game feeling good about Vegas's chances or not. They don't get both points, which means they don't end up in first place coming out of tonight. And that's a storyline we'll get into later. Cousins would score from Weiss at 5:51. So Dale Weiss, pushing to stay in the NHL, made a good case for himself tonight. Habs get a power play. They don't score on it, but look who scores. Ilya Kovalchuk from Dano at 12:33. You know, Kovalchuk's driving up his market value if they decide to move him at the deadline. You only make $700,000, right? Vegas gets a power play. They don't score on it. Kulak then scores from Domi at 18:05. It's 3-0 Montreal. This is over. Unless you remember that Rangers game early in the year. Remember that? It's never over. Marchessault would score from Smith and Theodore at 9:08 of the second period. Now, Paling almost made it 4-1. Great save by Marc-Andre Fleury. Puck goes the other way, and Stastny would get a goal at 14:47 to make it 3-2. And the momentum was all in Vegas' favor at this point in the game. Third period, the puck control still in favor of Vegas. They were getting all the shots, most of the shots anyways, and they were really in control of this game until Cousins scores from Weiss at 9 minutes and 40 seconds. So Montreal makes it 4-2 on that play. And yeah, it was a 2-on-1 that got them the goal, and again, Weiss is pushing to stay in the league. Vegas gets a power play. They don't score on it. They pull the goalie with 2 minutes and 5 seconds left. It does not take long. Pacioretty scores from Theodore at 18:03. Smith would then score from Stastny and Theodore when they pulled the goalie again with 8 seconds left. Technically 7.5, but 8 seconds left. So we go to overtime. In overtime, Stastny lost some teeth when he got a puck in the mouth. He lost some teeth that he picked up, and then teammates picking up teeth as well before they cleaned the ice. It was ugly. And then Kovalchuk had a breakaway that was denied after all that was cleaned up and they got back to playing hockey. We go to a shootout. In the shootout, who gets the winner? Tomas Tatar, because that's what's meant to happen. Either Tatar would score for Montreal, or Suzuki would score for Montreal, or Pacioretty would score for Vegas, because that's how this rivalry works. So Fleury saves 26 out of 30 in the shootout loss. Price saves 31 out of 35 in the victory. Tatar, Cousins, and Stastny, your 3 stars in this one. Power plays 0 for 2 for Vegas, 0 for 1 for Montreal. Shots, 9 apiece in the first, 11-6 in the second for Vegas, 14-10 Vegas in the third. In the overtime, Montreal outshot them 7-1. So Montreal definitely pushed for it, and in the end, the win goes to Montreal in a shootout. But for Vegas, it's another tough result. They needed 2 points tonight, and they didn't really get it. So they don't have games in hand on anybody ahead of them. They end up being I think they came out of tonight 5th in the division. I believe 5th. Not that it matters. There's 1 point between 1st and 5th. But at a time where it looks like a couple teams in the division are definitely on a roll, Vegas doesn't look like they are. And this is still problematic. Next up, Florida. Yes, the Panthers. In against the Detroit Red Wings. And early on, Howard denied Malgin, and it looked like maybe Howard was going to work on another steal tonight. The Wings get a power play. The pressure was all in favor of the Panthers, mostly on that shorthanded play. I don't think the Wings got a shot on that first power play. The Wings got another power play. They wouldn't score on that. And then there was a 4-minute high stick by Nemeth. The Panthers would get another power play. They don't score on that one, but the momentum eventually works in their favor. Dadonov scores from Huberdeau and Brown at 17:15. About a minute later, Pesic scores from Ekblad and Vetrano at 18:40. So it's 2-0 Florida after 1. And honestly, they deserve that, at least a 2-goal lead based on that first period. Second period, the Panthers get a power play. They wouldn't score on it. And then Larkin would go the other way coming out of the penalty box. He scores from Helm at 5:15. The Wings got a power play after that. They don't score. It's 2-1 Florida after 2. And I'm still looking at this and going, I should be more into this, but Florida's going to beat them because Detroit's not going to score 2 goals in the third period. Third period, the Wings get an early power play. That didn't go anywhere. There was some extended 4-on-4 play early in that period. Howard had really put together back-to-back good games at that stage. And then Biega speared Vetrano right in the nuts. And I don't understand why announcers won't say it. Why they'll say, oh, got him in a sensitive area. Oh, that looks painful. He got him in the unmentionables. What's wrong with the word nuts? We talk about nuts and chocolate bars, but if it's a guy's nuts, you can't say it. I don't understand. He got him in the nuts. So they give him a 5 in a game, which I thought was ridiculous. I thought Biega doesn't deserve 5 in a game for that. So they reviewed it, and on the review they dropped it to a 2-minute minor. Agreed, Biega stays in the game. The funny thing is you could see at the bench, you could see Abdelkader kind of mimicking it, and you could see him kind of mouthing like, that's not what he meant to do. That's not, he didn't mean to right in the nuts. But the other thing that I found funny is you always see these instances where a guy takes the shot in the nuts, because I can say nuts, and it's like announcers just start like, you can't call him that. Why not? It's nuts. So whenever the guy gets hit, you'll always hear announcers saying the same thing. I don't know, he could be acting here. It might not be a big deal. And then they show the replay and you go, no, give him some air, give him some space. No, that's not funny. No, everybody shut up. That's not funny. That's not cool. Guys, don't do that. So yeah, Biega gets a 2-minute minor. During that 2-minute power play, Barkov would score from Yandel and Huberdeau at 13:05, to which I'm sure he screamed, I did that for the privates of my teammate. I'm sure he didn't. Then the last goal of the game is Malgin from Vetrano at 18:12. So Vetrano manages to stay in the game and gets the helper on the empty netter. 4-1's your final in favor of Florida. Bobrovsky saves 27 out of 28. Howard saved 34 out of 37. Your 3 stars are Bobrovsky, Larkin, and Huberdeau. Power plays, Florida went 1 for 6. Detroit went 0 for 7. A lot of power plays in this game. Shots, 16-7 for Florida in the first, 16-10 Detroit in the second, 12-5 Florida in the third. Final shots, 38-28. So Bobrovsky earns that first star for the fact that in the second period when they needed it, he only allowed one goal on 16 shots. So there you go. The tale of poor Frank Vetrano getting tuning forked by Biega. So it's not like Biega at all. All right, next up, LA. Yes, the Kings in against the Philadelphia Flyers. And when you're going into a break, by all means, have LA come in and play you. The Kings hit a post early in this game. Konechny scores from Van Riemsdyk and Giroux at 3:48. And to be honest, early on I went, okay, so Elliott's playing well. The Kings are being kept to the outside. The Flyers are playing pretty darn decent defensively. And of the 5 games that started at 4 o'clock my time, this was the one that I went, okay, I kind of know where this is going. Even more to some extent than this one. Because up until those 2 late goals, I thought maybe Detroit can steal one, and then they didn't. That was just the nut shot. Second period, early Kings power play. Doesn't go anywhere, and then Konechny scores his second from Van Riemsdyk and Couturier to make it 2-0, interestingly enough. The goal in the first period's at 3:48. The goal in the second period's at 3:44. I thought that was really weird. I saw it on the app, I saw it on TV, and I thought, okay, wait, did I write one of them down wrong? Anyways, it's 2-0 until Farabee scores from Niskanen and Sanheim at 12:08. Late power play for the Kings. Their power play sucks, so it's not going anywhere. In the third period, Brown makes it interesting when he scores at 5:06. The Kings were in the lead when it comes to the shots, 6-1 at the 6-minute mark. But then the Flyers get a power play and they score on it. It's Van Riemsdyk, who scores from Giroux and Hayes at 8:09. That makes it 4-1, and that's really all that Philadelphia needed. Honestly, that second goal by Konechny is what they needed. Van Riemsdyk, Konechny, and Brown are your 3 stars. Campbell, 22 saves on 26 shots. Elliott saves 34 out of 35 in the victory. That's kind of what they needed. They needed a really big game from Elliott here, and maybe that'll get Hart some more rest as we come out of the All-Star break as well. Power plays 0 for 2 for LA, 2 for 2 for Philly. So the special teams battle was all Philadelphia, no LA. Shots 9 apiece in the first, 13-11 in the second in favor of Philly, 15-4 in the third in favor of the LA Kings. Final shots 35-26 in favor of the Kings, which gives you a feeling the Kings were more in control of this than they really were. The third period was where they controlled it, but they were already down 3-0 at that stage. So understandable that Philly would sit back a little bit with a 3-goal lead, and yet they still managed to win it by 3 after all was said and done. So for Philly, Pretty decent game for LA. They've been in better luck next year territory for a while. This game does nothing to change that narrative. That being said, I need to change boards. Elvis, right? So for Columbus, and I know fans of the Blue Jackets are getting frustrated with the lack of attention. Look, I will throw as much attention towards Columbus as I can. And on some level, it's because when they started this, I didn't believe in it. When this run started, I went, it's nice, but they're still not going to make it. Look at the East; it's going to be hard for them to make it. Right now, they're in the playoffs, and I know they're not getting the attention that they deserve. I give it as much as I can. I would think, with the amount of subscribers this channel has, hopefully at some point media will pick it up. Media may look at tonight's result and go, yeah, but it's the Devils. Now, Columbus had a power play early in this. The shots were 6-1 for Columbus 5 minutes in. Elvis, another good game for him. The Devils actually ended up with 15 shots in the first 15 minutes. Once the momentum shifted, boy, they had a ton of shots. However, Atkinson, just before the 15-minute mark, would score from Savard and Wenberg at 14:49. So after putting 15 shots on the Columbus net, it goes the other way and it goes in. And Schneider should have saved that one. Got to be honest, I think Schneider should have saved that one. The Devils get a power play. They don't score on it. In the second period, they get another power play early. They don't score on that one either. Atkinson would then score from Bemstrom at 8:40. Then Lilia would get a goal at 11:58. And about 16 seconds later, 16 seconds later, Foligno scores from Gavrikov, and Schneider's out, and Blackwood's in. This is where you get kind of nervous, because Blackwood being the backup tells you maybe he's not 100%, maybe he shouldn't have been in here, but he comes in, and about 6 minutes later, he's greeted with a goal as well. Wenberg scores from Atkinson and Werenski at 18:54. So 5-0 Columbus after 2, and what do they do in the third? They shut it down. They absolutely shut it down. Merzlikins only faces 5 shots in that third period. So yeah, they shut the New Jersey Devils down, and any bump that the Devils had going for them, yeah, that's done. It's finished. And for Columbus, yeah, they jump into a playoff spot. So for Carolina, who play tomorrow, they kind of need to win, because they're sitting outside the playoffs right now tonight. This is what I've been talking about. A good team is going to miss the playoffs in the East. A good team is definitely going to miss the playoffs in the East. And maybe a good team in the West as well. Because with the results from tonight, it looks like maybe Winnipeg's going to end up being that bubble team that ends up missing it. So if we see Winnipeg and Carolina both fall out of the playoffs, that's a couple of pretty good teams that wouldn't be in there. Schneider saves 13 out of 17. Blackwood saves 13 out of 14. They didn't score, so you can't put this on Schneider really. But at the same time, if Schneider wants to prove, you know what, I've got better, I'm ready to come back and be an NHL goaltender, this start isn't it. Merzlikins saves all 41 shots for his third shutout, and pretty good numbers being put up by him. Merzlikins is your first star. Atkinson and Wenberg are stars number 2 and 3. Power plays 0 for 3 for New Jersey, 0 for 2 for Columbus. Shots 21-10 for New Jersey in that first period. Yeah, keep in mind it was 6-1 Columbus early. So after that, it was 20-4 in favor of the Devils. 15-11 Devils in the second, and then in the third, the Devils were done. It was 10-5 in favor of Columbus. Final shots 41-31 in favor of the New Jersey Devils, who lose 5-0. Pretty resounding defeat. Pretty frustrating night. And again, for Corey Schneider, who's trying to show, okay, I'm back, I'm ready. If he had saved, say, 30 out of 31 and they lose 1-0, you've got a good storyline going. But saving 13 out of 17, that's a problem. So we'll see what happens from here, but it doesn't look like Schneider's going to be sticking around. He's not making the argument that he needs to. Next up, Nashville at home against Buffalo. This was an odd game. Very, very odd game. The Predators attacked early. They had 4 shots in the first 2 minutes. The Sabres got a power play. However, they wouldn't get any shots on it. The shots were 9-0 for the Predators at the half. Ullmark was holding it scoreless. Played very, very well tonight. Doesn't get a star. He's in my honorary star of the night. Rene denied Eichel. And then Reinhart. Reinhart gets a goal from Darlene McCabe at 18:58. So a period of hockey that Nashville was very, very good in. and they come out behind. Second period, the Sabres bounce back from that slow start. Very wide open period of hockey, that one. Johansson would score from Yossi and Smith at 6:05. That ties it up. And the Predators push for the lead right after. They don't get it. And again, very good road game by the Buffalo Sabres. And I think it's important to focus on this and say, all right, the Sabres played a pretty good game. They were against an equally desperate Nashville team tonight. Third period, the Predators had a shot at an empty net that was blocked. There was some pretty good shot blocking going on at either ends. Pressure by the Predators around 12 minutes in, and eventually that pressure would lead to a power play and a power play goal. Power play goal scored by Smith from Turris and Ekholm at 13:31, made it 2-1. Ullmark then stopped Granlund. The Predators get a power play with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left, and that pretty much kills the rest of the game. Buffalo did pull the goalie with 25 seconds left, but I was actually kind of surprised they didn't pull the goalie to make it 5-on-5 to have a better chance with 2.5 minutes left. Hey, you got Eichel, you never know. But yeah, that was it. Your final score is 2-1 in favor of Nashville. So on a night where there's a lot of goals being scored, not in that game. And so for Buffalo, it's a frustrating result. Ullmark saves 35 out of 37. Great start for Ullmark. Rinne, 30 saves on 31 shots. He is also your first star. Second star is Craig Smith, and Johansson is the third star in this game. Shots 11-7 in favor of Nashville in the first, 17-14 Buffalo in the second. Pretty wide open second period of hockey. And then 11-7 again in favor of Nashville in the third. Final shots 37-31 in favor of the Predators. Power plays, Buffalo goes 0 for 3. Nashville goes 1 for 3. So this is it's an interesting time. Nashville gets a couple of points tonight. Buffalo, they failed to get those points. They watch Columbus jump into a playoff spot and make it that much more difficult to get in there. Going to be some interesting decisions that need to be made. Because again, Buffalo wants to be in the playoffs, doesn't want to talk about not making it again. It's really, really important to them, and yet results like this make it harder to envision that. It means that their record to make the playoffs becomes pretty daunting. You got to think making the playoffs in the East is going to be, 96, maybe 97 points. How Buffalo gets to that kind of number, it's getting pretty dicey already. That being said, moving along, Minnesota played by themselves tonight. They were against a team that just didn't show up. Dallas. So here's the interesting thing. Last week, Dallas fans were all mad because in the power rankings I didn't really bump them up. And I said, I know they were on a 6-game winning streak. They lost against San Jose. Yeah, they'd beaten Detroit, LA, Anaheim. Were the last 3 teams they beat on that winning streak. They weren't really playing anybody. So, it's nice and it's fine. Oh, they won the Winter Classic against Nashville, a team that's been so great they fired their coach. And so I'm impressed with winning, but sometimes I look and I say, but you look at who they're beating and these games are kind of close. Well, tonight, this is embarrassing. And for Dallas, they get to stew on this one for a while. There was a push by the Wild at 3.5 minutes. Gurianov had a breakaway that was denied. That was the highlight of the night for the Dallas Stars as far as I'm concerned in this one. Spurgeon scores from Zuccarello and Suter at 10:32. Soucy would score from Zucker at 16:27. This is a game that was heavily in favor of Minnesota. It was much like the Florida game is really what this one felt like too, where Florida had the advantage and then late in the game things just broke in their favor on the scoreboard, and it felt that way with Minnesota as well. Second period, going into that period, I thought it was worthy of note. Stephen Johns, first game in a while, he played .556 in that first period, had 2 hits and 1 block in the first period. He was even, so he was not A-. He wasn't on the ice for those goals against. He'd be on the ice for one of the goals against at 5-on-5 in the second period. Zucker would score from Fiala and Brodin at 3:38. And then less than a minute later, Donato scores from Hartman. That's it. Hudobin's out. Bishop's in. So Hudobin, who came into this with a great save percentage, tonight's going to eat into that a little bit. And it was Murphy's Law. This whole game was Murphy's Law for Dallas. It was not a great night for them. Whatever can go wrong did go wrong. Stars got a power play. They didn't score on it. And then in the last minute of that second period, Zuccarello scores from Zucker and Dumba at 19:07. I'm so glad that those two play together, Zuccarello and Zucker. But, yeah, it's 5-0 after 2. Third period. Going into that period is worthy of note. Corey Perry had played .732 in that game. The forward with less ice time was Gurianov, who had played 7 minutes and 11 seconds. And Perry, a -2, and I believe he'd had one shot through the first 2 periods. So Corey Perry came back, played fourth line minutes in the first 2 periods. And the one thing I thought Dallas had going for them early in that third period was, well, at least they've got more shots in the entire game than Minnesota. No. Parise scores from Suter at 13:09 on the power play, and the shots were then in favor of the Wild as well. And then Dallas decided to take another penalty, because why not? And their penalty kill sucked, because there's another power play goal. Hartman from Greenway and Donato at 16:50. That's your final score. A touchdown for Minnesota and nothing for Dallas. Much like the Dallas Cowboys, the offense just isn't there when you need it. So, yeah. Hudobin, 13 saves on 17 shots. Bishop saves 12 out of 15. I don't know. You can't really look at a 7-0 loss and see anything less than a complete and total loss by everybody on the team. So everybody can look in the mirror tonight and say we all played an equal role in this. And I mean that. Does Gurianov deserve to get the least amount of time, though? Probably not. That being said, it's going to be interesting to see what Dallas does going into the deadline. Stalock saves all 27 shots he faces. He's also the number 1 star. I don't know how you give a number 1 star to a goaltender. I know it's a shutout, but it's 7-0. Anyways, Zucker and Spurgeon are your second and third stars. Power play 0 for 1 for Dallas. 3 for 3 for Minnesota. So, yeah, this was a complete disaster. Shots 12-7 in favor of Minnesota in the first. 13-8 Dallas in the second. They had that push in the third. Doesn't matter. 12-7 are the final shots in the third period for Minnesota. They outshot Dallas 32-27. It's quite the disaster that Dallas had tonight. So they end up going 1-2 on the week, and they've won 1 out of their last 4. And that's where that board there I'm looking at becomes kind of tricky, because it's not just about who's doing well right now and today and who won today. It should be about which teams right now are playing the best hockey. So that's why I had to make some adjustments, adjust some teams up, adjust some teams down, and that should be an interesting night tonight. That being said, moving along, Vancouver. I don't know what to say about Vancouver right now other than I did applaud at the end of this game. This is 8 straight wins. They haven't done it in 8 years. At home. 8 straight wins at home. They haven't done that in 8 years. This is something that it feels sustainable. And that's what kind of frightens me on some level. You look at this team and you go, I don't know. I don't know if that there's a huge weakness on this team. And I know people are going to say, well, what about that Tyler Myers contract? No, we're talking about right now, this year. And making a push for the playoffs this year. The Vancouver Canucks right now, tonight, are first in their division. They're 1 point clear of 4 teams. So it's not a stranglehold on the division like Boston has in the Atlantic, or like St. Louis and Washington have over their divisions. And Washington's is a little dicey because of Pittsburgh. But it's still, they're first in the division, and they've got games in hand on some of those teams that are chasing them. So it's impressive. First period, it was a low-chance game early. And I thought, this probably favors Vancouver. They've got the feel-out process going on. This probably favors them. The shots were 5-1 Vancouver at the half. And then Edler had a big hit on LeBanc. And I don't know that's what started things for San Jose, but it felt like, I don't know, San Jose really had a chip on their shoulder that came out later on in the game. A lot of it's Joe Thornton, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. So there was a scrum after the Edler hit on LeBanc, which was clean. The Canucks come out with a power play out of that whole thing. The Sharks were held to 3 shots in that first period, but the game is scoreless. And that's where you always think, all right, we had a great first period. We didn't get a goal. So I guess that's great, but you need to be ahead on the scoreboard. Second period, early Canucks power play, and the shots 5 minutes into that second period for the whole game were 15-4 in favor of Vancouver. Dell, though, was trying to steal one. Aaron Dell, his stats at the end of the night tonight aren't great, but you know what? Aaron Dell played very, very well tonight for the Sharks. The Sharks had a push around the 6-minute mark. They couldn't get enough shots, though. And then the pressure forced a Canucks penalty. They would not score on that. And then Eriksson goes down to the other end of the ice, and he scores from Pearson and Horvat at 14:05. So, Bob Bugner, seeing what a yard sale it was, figures, well, I might as well challenge that. I'm not sure which player he was thinking was offside, but as much of a yard sale as it was, with everybody being all over the place, nobody was offside on that play. The goal counts. So that's a power play for the Canucks. During that power play, Elias Pettersson hit a post, which I think puts him in the lead overall in the NHL for how many posts have been hit. He's hit a lot. I talked about in the stats video this week. Third period, so it's a 1-0 lead. And Dell really had pushed the Sharks into a position where they could steal this, because the Sharks were down 27-7 in shots after 2 periods. So you look at it and go, yeah, the Sharks are done. But they're only down 1-0. So there's still some uncertainty when it comes to whether or not they're done. So in the third period, the Canucks get a power play. On that power play, Pearson scores from Virtanen and Gaudette at 5:01. And then the Canucks pushed again right after. Something the Canucks would do in previous seasons. Get a 2-goal lead. It's the dreaded 2-goal lead, right? Well, Gaudreau would score from Erik Karlsson at 7:09. It makes you think, all right, now it's 2-1. Uh-oh. There was some sloppy play in that third period by the Canucks. So San Jose, who had been limited to 7 shots in the first 2 periods, got way more shots in the third. Some of those were off of some iffy passes by the Canucks in the neutral zone. However, Quinn Hughes, beautiful seeing eye shot from the point. Assists to Roussel and Gaudette on the play at 7:46. That's 2 assists for Gaudette. And it's 3-1 Canucks. Mott then had a good chance that was denied. Mott had another chance after that was also stopped by Dell. And then the referee took a shot to, it looked like it was the front around here on the helmet. Hit him pretty hard too. It was a Fantenberg shot that was tipped. Hit him right in the side of the head, and there's no way he could get out of the way. So he exited at that point. I know people panic when that happens, but I think, oh, one referee. When has that system ever worked? Just always. Anyways, and I know people love the 2-referee system. It's gone on for too long now. Most of you kids don't remember there used to be a time when there was 1 referee, and some of us actually kind of preferred that, because then you got a feel for how that 1 referee was calling the game. And you'd know at the start of the night, okay, so we got Kerry Fraser, this is how it's going to be called. We got Massenhoven, we know how this is going to be called. And now, that was kind of different than what things are now. Demko then denied Nason. So San Jose did have a pushback in this third period. And when it came, Demko had a pretty good reaction to it and did pretty well for a guy who was probably cold from not facing shots in the first 2 periods. And I thought the Canucks were sitting on the lead a little. But again, this is different than past Canucks. JT Miller scores from Virtanen and Pettersson at 15:27. I'm not sure what I like more, the assist by Virtanen or the goal by Miller. The pass by Virtanen's fantastic. It's the second assist of the game. Jake is playing the best hockey of his career right now. Miller's been absolutely fantastic as well. He's on pace for a career year. He's already outscored what he did last year. Goals-wise, he's 1 point off of how many points he had the entire season last year. And outside of Artemi Panarin, nobody else in their first year with the team is scoring as well as JT Miller. So, kudos to him for that. Then there was a scrum late, and there was some chippy play kind of by both, but man, San Jose, Joe Thornton, the way he ran over Brandon Sutter, you see these plays from Thornton at this stage, and you think, what are you doing, Joe? Why? What are you doing this for? And you could say, well, he's sending a message. They're going into the break. They're 11 points out of the playoffs. I'm not sure what message San Jose can send right now. Other than, we'll be better golfers than you guys, I'm not sure what message you can send. And I didn't like it. And then what I also thought, I was actually kind of worried towards the end of this game because there had been some chippy play by San Jose, and I was worried that maybe somebody might take a shot at Quinn Hughes. I had that concern. Thornton was out of the game at that point. He got 4 minutes and penalties. They got him out of there, and there were some game misconducts thrown out there just to get guys out of there. But it was ugly. And it was ugly in a game that really, in all honesty, was over. It was done. So yeah, that didn't make me very happy. But your final score is 4-1 for Vancouver. So they held on. There was no further incidents after that. Dell, 35 saves on 39 shots. Demko saved 16 out of 17. So when he was called upon, he was pretty good. 3 stars are Pearson, Virtanen, and Hughes. 0 for 1 on the power play, San Jose. 1 for 5 for Vancouver. So they had tons of power play opportunities, thanks to the chippy play of the Sharks mostly. Shots were 9-3 Vancouver in the first, 18-4 in the second in favor of Vancouver, and 12-10 in favor of Vancouver in the third. Final shots, 39-17. Again, Aaron Dell had a good game. Yeah, he allowed 3 goals in the third, but he was the only reason this was a 1-goal game going into the third. So Dell is still the starter, and it's a frustrating season for San Jose, and I understand that. They had an interview in between the first and second with Karlsson, and you could tell that Erik Karlsson is just choked, because they asked him what were the good things you saw in that first period, and his answer was basically, and I'm obviously paraphrasing, basically there weren't any, and he was quite frustrated with the whole thing. And all I can think is, they're paying you $11 million for the next 8 years. You have to be one of the ones that figures this out. You have to be part of the solution. They're paying you too much money for you not to be. So there you go. You guys are all caught up on tonight's action. Let me know your thoughts regarding tonight's games in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.